There's this persistent fear when it comes to AI that it'll make us as humans irrelevant, that one day soon the machines will simply outgrow us. And that's not a new fear. We've had it every single time we've invented something that has outperformed us. But here's what history has taught us. Every time we automate, we also amplify. Humanity has never lost value to machines. We've simply changed the way that we create value. And this is where I want to go today, because there's so much displacement that is talked about when it comes to AI replacing humans. But I think there's a mythology there, and I want to deconstruct this and break it down for you. If we look at every major era of automation, from the wheel to the web, it's followed the same basic pattern. First, we have fear, then we have adaptation, and finally, we have the emergence of new value that we suddenly can't imagine having lived without. Right? The printing press didn't eliminate scribes. It gave rise to publishers, to authors, to editors, to an entire industry that was built around literacy, which was unimaginable prior to the printing press. The Industrial Revolution did the same thing. It didn't destroy craftsmanship. It turned craftsmanship into design firms, into brands, into mass production, scale, into identity. And computing, the most recent revolution, didn't end employment. It created entirely new economies that couldn't have existed without silicon. We've consistently mistaken replacement for redefinition. So when people today say AI will eliminate humans, what they're really saying is, I can't imagine what that new value looks like, at least not yet. But that's not proof of extinction. That's proof of a lack of imagination, or what I like to call imagination lag. It has to catch up with us, and it hasn't yet. Value is, and it always has been, a very human-to-human proposition. It's not about productivity. It is about creating meaning. If you think of the services, the products that you use today, they are products that add meaning to your life. It's about solving someone else's problem in a way that creates joy, creates relief, curiosity, wonder, additional time in your day. And as long as we can create something that another human finds valuable, then we create industries, we create new economies, and frankly, we create and enhance civilization. And that's what we keep getting wrong. We confuse the tools that change our value with the disappearance of the value itself. What's different this time, admittedly, and what makes AI feel so incredibly terrifying is the speed with which all this is going to happen. Every prior revolution gave us time to adjust. The printing press took centuries to reach scale. The Industrial Revolution took generations, and even computing unfolded over many decades. AI will absolutely compress that cycle into years and maybe even months. We're on the cusp of artificial general intelligence. So yes, the displacement is going to happen faster than we've ever experienced. But here's the paradox, and I want you to think about this and think about it carefully. The creation of new value will also happen faster. And that's the piece that we often get wrong. We focus so much on what AI will automate that we ignore what it will activate. When you give billions of people the power to think, write, design, code, and analyze at near infinite scale, you don't end work. In fact, you amplify it and you ignite it. AI is not an extinction event. It is an acceleration event. Every prior generation of automation, every revolution that we've experienced, and those before us, expanded the boundaries of human creativity. But this one will blow those boundaries apart entirely, because for the first time, the constraint is no longer physical. It is mental. The plow replaced muscle. The microchip replaced memory. AI replaces limitation. AI is the ultimate tool by which we create abundance. So let's dig deeper into why this partnership will work. AI in its current form, and in every form that I can perceive in the near term over the course of the rest of this century, is a linear thinker. Let me explain that. A linear thinker connects existing dots beautifully, but it doesn't invent new dots. It synthesizes the total of human knowledge, but it doesn't surprise us. So even if AI is identifying patterns, biological patterns to create a new drug, it is inventing something, but it is inventing something with existing knowledge, existing patterns. So ask it to write a song, and it'll give you every melody that's ever worked. It can recompose those, it can reconstruct those, but only from what it's been trained on. Ask it to invent jazz, not so well. There's a human element, and that human element is what I call lateral thinking. Lateral thinking is when we leap sideways. We collide ideas that they don't even belong together inherently. They don't make sense together. In fact, in many ways, lateral ideas offend the conventional notion, conventional wisdom. We insult what used to be truth. And isn't that what science is? I mean, science is a history of constantly disproving the prior science. And that's where novelty and therefore value is born. When Copernicus said the Earth revolves around the sun, that wasn't a data synthesis. That was heresy. When Einstein proposed relativity, he wasn't crunching numbers. He was reimagining reality. And when Watson and Crick uncovered the double helix, they weren't following a linear path. They were seeing sideways. Lateral thinking is what differentiates human intelligence from artificial intelligence. Science progresses by disproving what it and we once believed to be immutable. That's lateral thinking, and that is what machines can't do. So will AI replace us? No. It'll replace the linear parts of us, the repetitive, predictable, pattern-based tasks. And that, in my mind, that's great news, because it'll finally free the rest of us, the lateral thinkers, to do what humans do best, to invent, to imagine, and to irritate the status quo. AI doesn't kill creativity, in other words. It kills convention. Now, we won't all suddenly become lateral thinkers overnight. There's an educational system that has to change, and that takes time. Most of us have been conditioned by an educational system designed for linear thinking. Memorize, repeat, standardize. AI is going to force that to change. But it's also going to accelerate the speed with which that changes. Think of AI as the horse that just kicked off its blinders, and in doing so, we're removing ours as well. Our peripheral vision is about to expand dramatically. We'll see possibilities that were once completely hidden behind the grind of the daily routine, the administrative tasks that weigh us down. And that's why I don't fear automation through AI. AI is what liberates imagination. So when we stop competing with machines on speed, we compete on originality. Creativity isn't about doing what has been done. It's about thinking what hasn't yet been thought. AI does the heavy lifting of knowledge work so we can do the heavy lifting of insight. And that will give us time to express wonder in ways that the human mind is uniquely capable of. And if that's not evolution, I don't know what is. So let's go back to value. Every economy is built on one question. What do we value now, and what new value are we creating? And the answers keep changing. And every time the answers change, humanity doesn't shrink. It expands. And by the way, we've got 4 billion people on the planet today that don't have access to the kind of resources you and I have. They don't have identity. They don't have bank accounts. They can't take out loans. They're not part of the global economic system. So we have a lot of room for expansion. We used to value muscle, the ability to hunt, build, and plow. And then we valued machinery, the ability to scale production. Then we valued information, the ability to process data. Now we're entering the age of imagination. If that sounds soft, it shouldn't. Because I'm sure at one point, to a farmer, talking about the value of automated machinery to plow the fields would have sounded like pure fiction and imagination, as would have computers 100 years ago. We're entering an age of imagination and the ability to generate ideas that machines simply can't. We've gone from the physical economy to the information economy to the imagination economy. And here's the most important part. AI doesn't compete in that arena. It supports it. It is the buttress that helps us to build higher and build taller. AI is a multiplier. It's not a replacement. It expands the surface area of what's possible for us as humans. And no doubt, we will absolutely see short-term job loss. We'll also see the birth, however, of entire new industries. AI ethicists, data curators, digital ecosystems managers, creative directors for synthetic worlds, emotional experience designers. I talk about this extensively in Gigatrends with my co-author, Nathaniel. These roles will emerge faster than any economy has ever adapted before, because AI doesn't just make us faster workers, it makes us faster learners. That's the paradox, again, that we so often get wrong. People often say, but AI is smarter than humans. Yes, in some ways, that's true. In the linear ways, not in the lateral ways. It can absorb every textbook ever written before breakfast, but knowledge isn't wisdom. Wisdom requires experience, empathy, intuition, qualities that can't be computed. AI can write you a love poem, but it can't fall in love. That's our domain. That's where value comes from. Linear and lateral, working together, computation and curiosity, collaborating, machine speed and human soul, working shoulder to shoulder. Together, we create a feedback loop of progress that's unlike anything civilization has ever seen. Machines will teach us faster, and we'll teach them better. And somewhere in that dance between code and conscience, if you will unlock entirely new kinds of value, things that you and I can't even begin to describe today. And we'll look back on this moment, I'm convinced, as the time we finally understood ourselves. Think of AI as holding a mirror up to us that gives us more insight into what it means to be human. So what do we get wrong about AI eliminating humans? We keep underestimating humanity's superpower, our relentless, almost annoying, impossible habit of creating new value out of thin air. AI will not make us irrelevant. It will make us necessary in entirely new ways. It'll demand that we rediscover our purpose, but as thinkers, as dreamers, as creators of meaning. As I record this right now, AI is writing symphonies, it's curing diseases, it's building new pharmaceuticals, building rockets, but the most important thing it's building is a mirror. And when we look into that mirror, what we'll see isn't obsolescence. What we'll see is incredible potential, human potential. We'll realize that our future doesn't depend on being the smartest species in the room, but on being the most imaginative one. Because AI can process every idea humanity has ever had, but it still can't have an idea that's never existed before. That's still our job. That is still our gift. That is still your value. And as long as we can imagine something that hasn't yet been imagined, no machine will ever eliminate the one thing that makes us human, our ability to create what doesn't yet exist. And in many ways, insults and offends what already does. I'm Tom Galopoulos, and this is Foresight Radio. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time, as always, stay curious.